Welcome to Comment with me, George Galloway, here on Press TV, still the voice of the voiceless. Comment is the big conversation. It's the great debate, but only if you join in. Above all, therefore, I need your telephone calls on 44208-601-4555. You call us, we'll call you back. Establish a clear line. And remember, if you get on the television with me, the volume on your television has to be down at 0, or I'll have to press swiftly on because no one will understand either of us. You can SMS the show on 447800008066, or you can email me at comment@presstv.co.uk. I've just come from the funeral of the Right Honourable Tony Benn. No one was ever more right and honourable than he. And if I seem a little sad, melancholy this evening, it's because my friend of 40 years has just been laid to rest. May God have mercy upon him. Tonight we're talking about a place where a lot of people have been laid in the grave prematurely, and that's Egypt. Egypt, where the elected president is now in prison on trial, and the overthrown dictator, Hosni Mubarak, is now out of prison and not on trial, and where hundreds of people have just been sentenced en masse to death after just 2 court sessions. En masse, they have been sent to the gallows. Whether or not the sentence will be carried out, of course, is another matter. But I must tell you this, I haven't been conscious of any great anger or wave of protest amongst the normal champions of human rights in Western countries. Maybe because the people who've been sentenced to death are Muslims, and the person who is responsible for these death sentences is actually working for a military junta, the head of which, General el-Sisi, has just announced that he is to run for president. Now, there isn't any doubt at all that he's going to win because the mass media is fully behind him. And any media that's against him is being closed down because the political class that supported the old dictatorship of Hosni Mubarak are now supporting him. And of course, because the Muslim Brotherhood made such a terrible job of the 1 year that they actually did spend in office. Morsi was a very bad president, but he was the president, the elected president. And you can't overthrow a president 12 months after he was elected and replace him with the military junta and a military general and expect to get the support of people like me. I'm sorry, that just isn't possible. But tonight we'll be asking who could actually lead Egypt. I did say that Sisi will undoubtedly win. My friend Hamdeen Sabahi, a veteran opposition politician in Egypt, is standing against him for president. And if the election is a free and fair one, then Hamdeen Sabahi will get quite a good vote. He got 5 million votes last time, but he won't win, and perhaps won't be allowed even to get the number of votes that he had in the past. So Sisi is going to be the president, but will he actually be able to lead? He certainly won't be accepted by the millions of supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood who don't believe that there is a vacancy for the presidency of Egypt. Could a liberal, socialist, Nasserist actually lead Egypt? Could an Islamist actually lead Egypt? Or does it have to be, as I argued from the very beginning, a far more secure government of national unity involving all of the political forces within the country? Power sharing. You see, Morsi made a big mistake in imagining that an election is all about election day. Actually, it's as much about the day after election day and how you lead, especially where you have won narrowly and on a low turnout in the actual election. So who could actually lead Egypt? I'd like your point of view on that. And the other issue is one which is perplexing me. I'm asking, what kind of influence does President Obama have over Europe? On one level, Europe only asked how high when President Obama ordered them to jump over the issue of Ukraine. But on closer inspection, what clearly has happened is that the United States has insisted on anti-Russian sanctions in Europe that will hurt Europe more than Russia and won't hurt the United States at all. You see, Russia is a part of Europe. It's not a part of the American continent. It actually is easy for Obama to get his Cold War boots on and try to take us back in that direction. But it's not in Europe's interest. It's not in Britain's interest, actually, above almost any other European country, with the possible exception of Germany. Britain has more to lose from the Cold War freeze that Obama has demanded, Kerry has demanded, Clinton has demanded, and all of them have demanded because John McCain insisted that they must. Britain has more to lose from the sanctions on Russia than Russia does, and much, much more to lose than the United States does. So I'm asking, and it's the run-up to the European Parliament elections. I don't intend to intrude upon them in any party political way, but I do make this point. When will Europe actually be an independent political entity of itself? When will Europe's political influence and weight be commensurate with its economic and cultural weight? I think it's an important question. So, Egypt, who could lead Egypt? And what kind of influence does Obama have over Europe? These are the two questions. And the first caller is from Malta, Mario, who wants to talk about the Obama and Europe issue. Mario, welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, George. Look, that's just what you said. Europe, you know, even the flag, the European flag, the American, in the old days, they had the one same kind of flag, you know, round with our stars. So that's why Europe, I think, they are the puppets of the American. Why don't America interfere and go to the Saudis, you know, and tell them, you are going to make an election. Not a dictator. They are dictators, you know, same as England, you know, even the Queen. And that's what I know. That's what I think. Even you're Scottish, are you, George? Yeah.
Okay, Mario, I didn't get very much of that. I hope the viewers did at home. But insofar as I grasped the point that you were making, it is that Europe seems so timid, so petrified of the world itself, that it's clinging to the United States. And that's a big mistake. Because I'll tell you one obvious consequence of what's happening now. Russia and China and Iran and Brazil and India and South Africa are being pushed more and more together. And eventually those countries will say to themselves, actually, we don't need the United States or Europe as much as we need each other. And so, actually, the European Union is hastening its decline as a power in the world. I hope they know that. Bagir is in Copenhagen. What kind of influence does Obama have over Europe, in your view, Bagir?
He has a... hi, good evening, George. Yeah, yes. Definitely. He has, unfortunately, a big influence over us. And what he said yesterday evening was just shameful. And I must say also, George, after the speech, it was confirmed that my country, Denmark, was sending jets to the Baltic Sea. So, yeah, just what he tells us to do, we should do we should obey him. This is his policy.
It's very strange. It's very strange, Bagheer. But I'll tell you what's equally strange. China holds more dollars than the United States does itself. China has more US dollars than the US Treasury has. China could bring the United States economy down immediately, overnight. And yet, the United States is creeping ever closer, seeking encirclement of China and probably helping to fan the flames of separatism and sectarianism inside China. And Russia, with its oil and gas riches, can actually make a turn to China, sell all its gas to China, and then we'll have no gas to buy at all, except at a very, very expensive price. And China and Russia together could have their own reserve currency. They wouldn't have to continue trading in dollars at all. And where does Denmark end up in all of that picture, Bagheer? Pretty well up the creek without a paddle, I would say, just like Britain. Britain and Denmark are not actually all that important in the world. They just like to think they are, especially when they're dispatching gunboats. Thanks for the call. Bashir is in England, in Birmingham. Who could actually lead Egypt, Bashir? Go ahead.
Egypt will be led by, if you ask for my personal opinion, if they have a proper election, because at the minute the election is a farce, it's a joke, because half the country won't vote. How could you have a election in a country which is divided?
Well, every country that has an election is divided. The elections are necessarily, objectively divisive in that you have to choose one path or another path. It's not the fact that they're divided. Yeah, it's the fact that if the people elect a government, that the army and the people who pay the army, namely Western imperialist countries, don't like who the people have elected, they'll simply be removed from power and thrown into jail, don't you think?
The army is mainly funded by the US, and they're just replacing one Hosni Mubarak by another one.
Yeah. You see, for me, what's happened now, Bashir, is that Mubarak is back. Without Mubarak, but the old system has come back. And actually, it's more draconian, more authoritarian, more repressive in Egypt today than it was during the latter part, at least, of Hosni Mubarak's rule, don't you think?
100% I agree with you. They're replacing one dictator by another. Nothing will change. The principles are the same, the policies are the same, everything is exactly the same, and this is all being done behind closed doors by the aid of the United States because Israel and America are a big funder, a major contributor to Egypt. Without them, Egypt is nothing, they'll fall apart.
Well, there's a lot in what you say. This has to be acknowledged, though. Sisi has the support of millions of people in Egypt. He does. I'm here to tell you that. He has the support of millions of people in Egypt, probably the majority of people in Egypt. The people in Egypt, after 1 year of the Muslim Brothers' rule, were looking for a kind of order, a kind of stability that they felt was in danger of slipping away under President Morsi. And the junta, which has killed thousands of people, now sentenced hundreds to death. There's no great outcry on the streets in Egypt about the junta's conduct. And when my friend Hamdin Sabahi announced that he was standing against Sisi, all the media in Egypt immediately turned on him in the most vicious way. So we're in real serious trouble in Egypt, Bashir. As you know, Mubarak deported me and I was not allowed back into Egypt. And I very much think that I'm not going to be allowed back into Egypt anytime soon. However, this weekend I will be in Morocco and in Tunisia. So if you're watching in either country, do catch up with me there. I'll be in Rabat speaking on Saturday evening, I think, and on Sunday in Tunis. Thanks a lot, Bashir. Isa is in Moscow. Wants to talk about Obama and Europe. Isa, welcome.
Legitimated by the people of Egypt, he was being ousted, and nothing was being said in this possible to install Mohamed Morsi back to government because America favorable a disorganized government in Egypt. Once you keep a disorganized government in Egypt, it is favorable to Israel to control the Middle East. That is the most important fact I'm telling you today. Israel has been used as a catalyst for the purchase of American expensive, harsh, delicate, destroyable weapons. Israel always threatened the Arab neighbors. For so doing, Arabs are forced to go to America to buy expensive weapons. By so doing, they flourish American economy. Now, if Egypt should be held by an Arab leader, which is Mohamed Morsi, to defend the interests of the Arab people, Israel is bound to make peace with Egypt, is bound to make peace with Palestine, is bound to make peace with many other countries in the Arab world. And by making this peace, it is going to cost America a lot of losses. How? Most Arab nations are going to stop from purchasing all these expensive weapons. They will tend to buy tractors, bulldozers, manures in order to cultivate agriculture. Once you cultivate, you are going to establish a constant flow of the economy of the Arab world. Once you put the economy of our in the boom, then you have lesser imports.
Okay,
America invaded Iraq.
Look, it's not all that clear what it is that you're arguing. Let me try and summarize it for the viewers. Isa in Moscow thinks that the reinstatement of Morsi is the only thing that could stabilize the situation in Egypt. Well, I think every person watching this, including President Morsi, if he was watching it, knows that that's not going to happen, could not happen. And I'm here to tell you it would not stabilize the situation in Egypt either. I've made my views really abundantly clear. I'll do it in summary again. Morsi was the elected president. His overthrow is illegitimate, illegal. It was the subject of a military coup. But he was a very poor leader, and he only just won the election and very quickly lost a substantial part of his political majority. So actually, if Morsi was standing in the election for president of Egypt, he'd get a very low vote indeed, in my opinion. The things that you say, Isa, that we need Morsi for, he didn't actually do or look like doing in the year that he spent as president. Actually, he was on his knees in front of Washington. He couldn't please Washington enough. He didn't even open the border between Egypt and Gaza, even though those who govern in Gaza are actually members of his own Muslim Brotherhood movement. He sought to please America in Syria. He sought to please America in his relationship with Erdogan in Turkey. He did everything that he could in that year not to break free of the stranglehold of Washington, not to break free of the relationship with Israel, but to reassure Washington and Israel that though he might be in the Muslim Brotherhood, he was no kind of danger of any kind to them. So I'm afraid, Isa, you're looking at the Morsi era, if 12 months can be called an era, through rose-colored glasses. Of course, I demand his release from prison. Of course, I condemn the death sentences. Above all, I condemn the massacre of Morsi's supporters that the military junta has partaken of. I condemn the military coup that overthrew Morsi. But let's not romanticize Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood as any kind of golden age in Egypt. Let's go to Zambia, talk to John. Who do you think, John, could actually lead Egypt. Go ahead, sir.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. In Africa, there is no democracy. Why? It's because of America. America is there sending its people, also its people called Peace Corps. What are they doing in Africa?
What are who doing in Africa? America.
Sorry?
What did you ask me?
I'm talking about America being not good to the world.
Well, they think that they rule the world. That's why they're in Africa. They've sent soldiers to Africa. They've opened a new African military center. They are, through their use of the World Bank and the IMF, seeking to subvert the governments of Africa, seeking to bend and twist them to their own liking. They are backing tyrants in Africa, as they do in many other parts of the world, and they're doing it all to maintain their hegemony in Africa as elsewhere. But they are being challenged. They're being challenged by the independent foreign policy of South Africa. They're being challenged by China's huge investment on the ground in Africa, which doesn't have a political purpose and has no political profile, but the economy and politics cannot be easily untied, uncoupled. John, thanks for the call in Zambia. Let's go back to England. Jeff in Lincolnshire, what kind of influence does Obama have over Europe? Jeff, in your opinion.
Hi, George. Thanks for taking my call. I'd just like to, before I say anything, send out a salute to Tony Benn and his family on this sad day.
Thank you.
It's about as bad a loss as can be imagined in British politics.
Yes,
it's very sad.
Very, very serious loss, yeah.
I just want to say, George, about Egypt. Obviously, this announcement of this mass execution is disgusting, and the idea that Mubarak can get a reprieve from justice while Morsi remains.
Well, Morsi's behind bars.
Yeah,
I mean, it's absurd. And what's more absurd, Jeff, is there's not a whisper or a whimper about it in the Western media.
No, there isn't. There isn't. And I'm going to say something a little perhaps controversial here. I know it's probably not the best time, but I have to ask, you mentioned Morsi. He was such a sycophant as president. He was so dying to do whatever the West wanted.
Yeah.
I have to ask the question, even if it is slightly distasteful at the moment. He's sitting behind bars now. How does he feel right now? Does he think that was a winning strategy? For example, you see the new president of Iran, Rouhani. I think Rouhani proves that you can be principled, even conservative in what you believe. And at the end of the day, you'll get more done. Because Rouhani at the moment is achieving great things without giving up on Iran's rights. And if you look at Morsi, who in many areas sold Egypt short on the international stage, look where he is now and look where Rouhani is. Rouhani is celebrated at the moment for his achievements. Morsi is in jail, and Morsi is the one who tried to play it safe by coddling America, by coddling, the worst elements in the West. And I just think that's quite telling.
Well, I think that's a very, very powerful and wise telephone call, Jeff. And I don't resile from it at all or disagree with it at all. As Mr. Ben often said, if you don't respect yourself, why would anyone else respect you? And if you approach others more powerful than you with no sense of self-respect, with your hand out, with your cap in your hand, asking them what they want you to do, why would anyone respect that? They would give you orders, yes. As long as you carried out those orders, you might or you might not be profited, or you might be safe. But no one would care if you were then swept away in a coup, as happened to Morsi. And it's very sad for the millions of supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt who waited so long and, as we say in English, labored so mightily only to bring forward a mouse. Thanks, Jeff, for that call. I'll be back, God willing, after a very short news bulletin with the second half of Comment in just 3 minutes. So don't go away. There'll be more here on Comment right after this. Welcome back to Comment with me, George Galloway, here on Press TV, still the voice of the voiceless. We're talking tonight about Egypt as the general declares that which everyone in the world knew he was going to declare, namely that he's going to be the next president of Egypt. Of course, there will be something resembling an election held. A friend of mine, Hamdin Sabahi, is already declared against him. I'm not sure there will be any other candidate against him, but undoubtedly General el-Sisi, who's resigned from the armed forces but will always be the general to me, is going to win. But that's not going to solve anything, because the supporters of the president that he overthrew after just 12 months in democratically elected office are not going to go away. And although hundreds of them have been sentenced en masse to death, unbelievably, after just 2 sessions in the court, they were all just sentenced to death, and 900 in total are to be executed as a result of the decisions this week. And thousands of his supporters have already been murdered, massacred out in the streets of Egypt. They're not going to go away. You can't hang them all, General. You can't massacre them all. In fact, all you're doing is driving more and more of the Muslim Brotherhood's support base in a more and more extreme and radical direction, and you must know that. So we're asking, how can Egypt now be led after what has happened, where the dictator Mubarak is now out of prison and the elected president Morsi is behind bars? And now that the people know the Muslim Brotherhood, whatever else they are not very good at governing, not very good at being president. Who or what, as a national government, can stabilize and lead Egypt forward? And we're talking about the European Union, its relationship to President Obama, in the wake of the orders that Obama has given for the European Union to put on their snow boots and get back into the Cold War in relation to Russia, Ukraine, and Crimea. Now, here's an important announcement. Next week's show is still at 1900 GMT. So for everyone in the world, next week's show is still at 1900 GMT. But for viewers in Britain, please note that that means 8 p.m. in the UK. So 1900 GMT for Comment, now that summertime is here, but for British viewers, that's 8 p.m. Let's go to Sweden. Philip is on the line there to talk about Obama and Europe. Philip in Sweden, welcome.
Okay. You know, first of all, I would like to talk about Africa concerning Egypt. You know, I wanted to talk about Ukraine and Russia and America policy and EU. But I don't want to talk about it. Let me go directly to Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay. Mohamed Morsi was moved from in power by Israel and America because of opening the Gaza Strip to help Palestinian people that...
No, let me stop you there, Philip. Let me stop you there. He didn't. I know that because I was then deeply involved with the Gaza Strip. He didn't open the Gaza Strip. He wasn't as bad as Mubarak, and Sisi is much worse than Mubarak, but he didn't open the Gaza Strip to help the Palestinians. That's just not true. and it's not true because he wanted to show to America and Israel that they had nothing to fear from them. But go ahead.
Okay, since he didn't do it, but what America is doing to the Palestinian people, they are weak because they don't have the knowledge to face air defense system, to buy F-16 warplane, to buy this, to fight for their land. Okay, I accept that, but somebody will stand up for them. One day, America, they will fall. When they fall, United Nations will fall. One person cannot sit and dictate to everybody on what right and what is wrong. America and Europe, they are now leading the war into a serious problem. It's not World War III, but this is a war that is a complex war that is coming to fight. It will be difficult to solve.
Okay, Philip,
America,
thanks for the call.
Yes.
Thanks for the call. I just want to restate something important. It's correct to condemn the military coup, the junta, and General Sisi's rigged presidential election that lies ahead. That's correct and important to do. But it is not correct to pretend that the Morsi 12-month was anything like what is now being claimed by some in retrospect. It was not, which is one of the reasons why it was so easily removed and so easily brought down. I say that not out of malice. The man's in prison. I don't want to hurt him. But if we don't learn the lesson of what happened in the coup last summer that brought General Sisi to power, then we're doomed to repeat it over and over again in place after place after place. Mohamed's on the line in Birmingham. Mohamed, welcome to the show, my friend. I think we've dropped that call. We're talking about the influence President Obama has over Europe in light of the fact that he told them to get tough with Russia, and they did get tough with Russia. And the sanctions that they've introduced are going to damage them more than they are going to damage Russia, and far more than they are going to damage President Obama or the United States of America. So when will Europe get its dignity? When will Europe establish a kind of political weight commensurate with its economic and cultural weight? Just asking. Maher's on the line in Chicago in the United States. Who could actually lead Egypt, Maher? Tell me.
Well, how you doing, George?
By the grace of God, I'm good. Go ahead, sir.
All right. I love your program, The Voice of the Voiceless.
Thank you.
And it takes a lot of courage for a person to dedicate so much time and effort in trying to bring on justice.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All righty. Regards to Egypt, I mean, it's very hard to elect a president, you know, with so much corruption that could be created. I think the only way they can establish and form a good government is by electing a panel or some kind of a Congress first.
Yeah. That
would, from every sector of the country, that everybody and that is well known, and everybody, you know, can that can trust, you know, that they know.
A national unity government, Maher.
Yeah.
A coalition national unity government to guide Egypt out of the crisis.
Right, before they try to elect a president.
Yeah.
That's, to lay out the foundation first before, you know, they can find or legitimize some of the candidates.
Yeah.
That could run a government and have more confidence in them.
Well, I think in a country like Egypt, emerging from dictatorship, an Arab country, next door to the apartheid state, and in a state of neither peace nor war with that apartheid state, in Africa at this point in time, it matters less the process than the actual content of the government matters. And thus I say, despite some of us doing our best to advise them otherwise, the 12th month of the Muslim Brotherhood, in which they failed completely to make any kind of national unity, to reach out to any other political, cultural forces in the country, themselves alone, even though Morsi had won the presidency with just 1% of a margin and with half of the country not voting. This was a profound error, and it's an error that we must learn from, or we're doomed to repeat it. Maher, thanks for that call in Chicago. Let's slip over the border to Canada and talk to Ali on the same subject. Ali, welcome to the show, my friend. Go ahead.
Hey, George, how are you? Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I am expounding on the Egypt. Egypt would be always in hands of Israel and America, because this is very important. They would never let it go, even though if 100% of the country vote for the independent president, they will take him out, put him in the jail, and do it exactly what they want to do. So as long as the American and Israel is supporting, and all those dictators around the Egypt, they're supporting the Egypt and supporting America and Israel, their time is coming too. It's within no time they will be looking for chairs somewhere else too, because this is, what comes around goes around, and what goes around comes around. So it's going to happen to almost everybody, and I know that.
Well, I agree. And of course, Saudi Arabia has pumped billions into the new junta-led government, and no doubt will give billions to President Sisi when that's what he becomes. They put a lot of money into the opposition, which helped to bring President Morsi down. I agree with you up to a point, but I have to add this. There were millions and millions of Egyptians on the streets trying to bring Morsi down. They have a responsibility in this. They have to, at least those who are no longer in love with the junta, have to calibrate their own role in this. There's a rule in life that you must be careful what you wish for. You might really hate Morsi. You might really hate the Muslim Brotherhood. But in helping to bring them down, you've brought Mubarak back. You've brought a general back. And you have effectively undone the whole Egyptian revolutionary process, in which a lot of people gave their lives and gave their blood and made a sacrifice. So those liberals and leftists who were ready to ally with anybody to bring down Morsi now ought to know that once Sisi has eaten the Muslim Brotherhood, he'll come and try to eat you. Let's go to the next caller in London. Abdul, what kind of influence does Obama have over Europe? Abdul, in your opinion, go ahead.
Mr. Galloway, good evening, Mr. Galloway.
Good evening, sir. Go on.
Mr. Galloway, my question is about what Americans doing now. Because America, they capture, look at what happened in Iraq, what happened in Libya. That's what they want to crack all the nations to becoming a superpowers. We know that they are, but they don't want any opposition. That's why I know, and then I asked, because these people, they want to crack down Russia, and the second one is China. So these people, they have to take care Russia and America and China, because what happened now, we know where the American target is going on. And the second one is,
Go on, Abdul.
And the second one, look at about this in Saudi Arabia. The hypocrisy is going on, but Americans ignore them. They don't care about what happened in Saudi Arabia. Only they target Russia.
They will care one day, Abdul, when the people of Arabia rise up and strangle these kings and tyrants on their golden ropes, they will care then, because all that wealth that ought to belong to the people of Arabia will then be in different hands. All those decisions about what to do in the region and beyond will then be in different hands. The tyrants in whom they have invested all these decades will be gone, will be no more, and will face, frankly, the gallows unless they can escape from their palaces to the west quickly enough. The day is coming in Saudi Arabia when the people will rise and take the power. And then the people in the Western chanceries, in the palaces and the presidencies are going to have to take note of them. Abdul, thanks for that call. Of course, I have sympathy with it. I just caution, as I always do, against blaming Israel, blaming America. We have to blame ourselves sometimes too. Sylvain is on the line in London. Go ahead, Sylvain. Sylvain?
Yes, sir?
You're on the line. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Okay. Hi, George. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for your show. I think it's a good program.
Thanks.
And I don't know if whatever I'm going to say to you right now can help or can change anything, but I'm going to make two comments. The first comment is going to be about Egypt. It's quite sad, or rather sad, that people believe or have to believe to kill, share blood in order to gain power or to become president or to have some form of leadership, in a country. And the world is just watching. The world is not doing anything truly. But
no, as far as I know, Sylvain, it's not even on the news. I mean, I don't watch the BBC, but I do watch what is on it. And as far as I know, there is no wave of outrage at the proposed hanging of 900 supporters of the ousted, democratically elected president in Egypt. I haven't seen any reports about that. Nobody from Amnesty International has contacted me about that. The human rights lobby has gone remarkably silent over that. Don't you think that's strange?
Yeah, that's things. And I think, I don't like the idea of using words like democracy in countries like that, because it's democracy. It's places ruled by demons. I don't call that democracy. And the same people preaching democracy are the same people causing so much pain to many countries in the world. So I think they should change their song. Instead of singing democracy, they should sing demonocracy.
That's very interesting thesis. Very, very.
Being ruled by demons.
Very interesting. Sylvain, great call. I need to move on, though, because Ghana's on the line. Ibrahim in Ghana, to be precise, who wants to talk about Egypt too. Ibrahim, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Judge Galloway.
Yes, good evening to you, brother. Go ahead.
I'm calling from Ghana.
How wonderful. The land of Kwame Nkrumah.
I'm very thanking you for the good work you are doing for us.
Thank you. No, it's duty, brother, duty. I'm doing it for humanity.
And I want to talk about Egypt.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
My problem is that why is it that the whole world are silent about what is happening in Egypt?
Yeah.
You will not hear saying anything.
No.
No Arab League, they're concerned about it. No Americans. Everybody is silent about what is happening in Egypt.
Thousands of Egyptians were massacred, thousands, by an American, Western-backed and paid-for armed forces in Egypt. The elected president is now in prison. 900 are being sentenced to death. It doesn't get much more serious. If it were happening somewhere else, we'd be hearing about nothing else. But we're not hearing anything in the Western media about the situation in Egypt. Brother Ibrahim, thank you, and forgive me, I need to press on. I've only got 4 minutes left. 3 minutes now. Farouk in London is on the line. Farouk, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, George.
Walaikum salam, go ahead.
George, you do with this Sisi fellow, the president. You know, obviously the military is receiving some $2 billion from the US.
Oh yeah, they get $800 million a year.
Yeah, whatever it is. But the thing is, you remember...
And by the way, they own banks, factories, hotels, land, farms, agribusiness, all owned by the army. What kind of a country allows its army to buy parts of the economy and run them for its own benefit, or rather the benefit of the generals? Go ahead, Farouk.
Yeah, you remember after the coup, I don't know if you remember, Joe, when he went live on television, and he started off with the name of Allah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Now, how can someone, what kind of fellow is this? And the next day, when these Muslim brethren, or the Egyptian people actually demonstrating for their rights, they were shot down by the gunship. Women, children, and whoever comes in the way.
Well, Farouk, there's a lot of hypocrites able to claim they're acting in the name of the Almighty. Last call is in London. Roland. Go ahead, Roland. Roland, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead quickly. You've got 1 minute, brother.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Galloway. The reason why I'm calling, I just wanted to comment on two issues that you got on the comments.
Yeah.
One is the issue with Egypt and who's going to lead Egypt. For me, I would say this issue of protesting is going to continue for the next 10 years because the first elected president in Egypt has been toppled through coup. So you wouldn't expect anyone to be elected and come in and the Muslim Brotherhood supporters to be happy about it, and you want them to condone that, which I know that will never happen because they've already toppled the first elected president of that country. That's one. To the issue of where Obama is leading Europe to, I think the European Union should get one thing into their political system, that they depend on Russia, and the gas that Russia supplies to the West enables us to do our own domestic and industrial work, which, if we cut these ties with Russia, it's not really going to affect the top dignitaries in society. It's going to affect especially the 99%, if I may say. Because, for instance, if the price of oil inflates, we are the one that is going to swell through difficulties to pay for it. But the
that's right. These sanctions are self-inflicted damage to us. And Obama does not suffer any of the damage. Russia will be moderately punished and affected, but the European countries will be affected most of all. Next week, 1900 GMT, 8 p.m. UK, God willing.
Hello, if you comment your name and the place you that number, and just make sure that your television volume is set to 0. So 0. Can you spell your name for me? Yeah, I know. You redirect me put through your phone number, and then we'll call you back. Comment. Can I have your telephone number? Okay, so